That's right, I'm talking about the world's first quadruple A game. Hear me out. Skull and Bones. The game delayed so long, everyone thought it would get cancelled, but apparently legal reasons prevented Ubisoft from doing so. The pirate game where boarding an enemy ship is just a simple cutscene. Yeah, that game. For those who know about Skull and Bones, I wager majority of you know of it, but have never played it. Only hearing about it through controversy or negative press, I imagine. For everyone else, let me explain. Skull and Bones is a naval online action RPG created by Ubisoft. It was first announced during their 2017 E3 press conference. Its initial release date was set to be the fall of 2018. They ended up narrowly missing that target date by about 6 years. It finally released in February of 2024. The initial reveal of the game made it seem something more akin to a hero shooter, but with pirate ships. What we ended up getting was quite the opposite. Instead, it's now an online open-world RPG with resource gathering, crafting, leveling, quests, progression, and more. What people were expecting was something akin to Assassin's Creed Black Flag's naval combat, but multiplayer. Skull and Bones is not that. And I wouldn't really say it's a pirate simulator either. In fact, the Steam store calling it a naval online action RPG is pretty apt. I found that I started to enjoy it when I stopped thinking about what it could be and instead played it for what it is. It's less a pirate game and more a pirate ship game. Think of your character as the pirate ship, and the game makes a lot more sense. The game's been out for over a year now, and just recently entered its Year 2 Season 2 update, so why now? And honestly, it's because I saw some tweet months ago about how they're looking into on-foot combat and had some teaser footage. I'm not sure when it's planned to enter the game, but that tweet did one major thing for me. It reminded me that this game exists. And then imagine my surprise when I find out it's still getting updates. Not only that, but we're talking potential major overhauls like on-foot combat? The heck they doing over there? Now look, Ubisoft can be a bit of a red flag, so I understand your hesitation. But I'll give them one thing. They end up supporting games for a lot longer than I or anyone else think they probably would. I don't know if this is more of the legal behind-the-scenes stuff that we're not privy to, which seemingly forced them to see the project to completion in the first place. So perhaps there's something about providing X amount of years of updates post-launch. But here's what I do know. I'm glad they are. Because here's the hottest take you'll hear all day. Skull and Bones kind of slaps. So after seeing that tweet, I made a note to hop back into Skull and Bones when I had a chance to see what's up. Just as a refresher, so I'd remember to keep my eyes out for whenever this big overhaul update thing is coming. I logged on expecting to spend a few minutes putzing around, and instead, well, I've been Skull and Bones pilled for weeks now. So instead of spending more time telling you what it is, what it could have been, the problems people have with it, or why many didn't give it a chance, mind you, I'm not saying that that stuff isn't important or that the people were wrong for thinking that. I'm just here to tell you why I'm loving Skull and Bones. And I'd never thought that would be a sentence to come out of my mouth. Let me walk you through a typical Skull and Bones gameplay loop. You log in and grab as many bounties, quests, and jobs as you can hold from one of the two major outposts. You ensure you've got enough food and ammo for your voyage, collect any resources that were refined while you were away, and queue up some more. You'll get the new ship blueprint you've been dying to craft, and then track the recipe so you remember what items you need while you're out sailing. You almost forget to go to your illegal hideout to check in on your black market enterprise. Perhaps there's some interesting supplies available or new orders to fulfill. Finally, you set sail. You pull up your map and try to decide what to do first. Should I go based on proximity or interest? Buy infamy to gain or loot to be plundered? You finally make a decision and almost without fail come across something that distracts you along the way. It could be a convoy escorting some supply ships that are just asking to be plundered, a rival gang of pirates who ambush you after noticing some black market materials you have on board, a roaming boss with a hefty bounty you could claim, a giant sea monster that reminds you you're going to need a bigger boat, or even a sudden call for help from other players who need help with their current objective. Whatever it turns out to be, it begins a chain of events that never seems to stop. And there's always something to fight. Each server holds up to 16 players, and while the world is fairly large, you'll usually happen upon a few during your journey, even if you don't answer any of these SOS calls. Personally, whenever I see a fellow pirate engaged in an event, I almost always try to help. I know how much I appreciated it when other people helped me, especially when I was lower level, so I just try to pay it forward. Yarg, that's a wholesome. Suddenly, you found yourself in quite a few kerfuffles. Perhaps you plundered a fort or two. You bought some supplies from a settlement, completed a side quest, and collected a few resource nodes. Before you know it, your ship's cargo hold is completely full. So you find the nearest place to dock. Upon arriving, you realize one of those treasure maps you looted off a random ship leads to a chest in this location. You don't pretend yourself into thinking it's at all trivial, since there's a giant claw emanating from the very goods. You dig it up, gather goods, and dump all non-essentials into your pirate warehouse. With a lighter load, you take assessment once more to see what's next on the docket. If perhaps that something is on the other side of the world, as long as you've unlocked a fast travel point, you pay a small silver fee to make the trip much shorter, and you start your conquest anew. That, in a nutshell, is Skull and Bones. A combination of different events happening around this fantastical pirate world that are always just enticing enough to get you to join. And why do I say fantastically? Well, I mean, literally, it's like a fantasy world. I mean, look, I'm fighting a freaking dragon, bro. And with everything you do, you're always rewarded. Whether it be resources, weapons, ship furniture, infamy, challenge progress, different currencies, etc. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't get repetitive, because it does. But the thing is that I don't feel like I'm just doing the same things over and over. Somehow it always feels a little different, and I always have a different goal in mind when setting sail. I actually just finished the main story quest in World Tier 1, finally making my way to World Tier 2 for the first time, only to be greeted with a surprise more main quests, only available in World Tier 2. Not to mention, I upgraded my first ship to the max level. This little baby pirate's all grown up. It's just perfect for my ADHD brain. It's just carrot after carrot, and I get to choose which carrot I want to chase. All of them. It's the secret, I usually chase all of them. At this point, I've nearly defeated every boss and megafort in the game, but happening upon them for the first time was always fun, and kept that feeling of discovery alive. Like there was always something new waiting for me. I'll never forget the first time I saw a rogue wave in the deep ocean. My crew started yelling, I started panicking, I knew I pooped my pants. Sure, soon I'll have technically beaten most of the unique things at least once. Therefore, I'll be repeating them after that. But that's okay. I haven't quite hit that loop yet, and I have over 50 hours of playtime, and even when I do, I'll have a reason to do them again with different ways to approach them. I haven't touched on all the different ships in the game yet, but I will, and that's a big way to really change your gameplay experience. Now, I think I'm probably a little behind progression-wise versus how much time I played, but it's proof of how much fun I'm having. I've just been playing for the fun of it, doing whatever tickles my fancy at the time, without following any guides or having any prior knowledge, and playing all of it completely solo. You can have a group of up to 4 pirates, but I have been out on the seas with only my own devices. And I don't feel like I missed out. Would it be more fun if I had some friends to play and squad up with? Yeah, probably. But to me, any game is just better playing with friends. The key thing is I don't think it takes away from my experience. Sure, there are some events and bosses in the game that require you to have more than one person, usually because it's specifically balanced as a group activity, but all I have to do is look at it, hold a button, and it'll send out a call for help to everyone in the server. Although I gotta admit, I just did my first run of the new megafort that was added in Year 2, Season 2, and I was smiling like a little kid for a couple minutes there, I won't lie. You queue up and then get match made into their biggest activity yet. You face this behemoth of a base, but not alone. You can match with up to 20 players, and it's just awesome seeing it all in action. It's like Avengers assembling. And shout out to the guys playing the heal and support ships or belts. You're the goats. I should also note that in this open world, there is PvP. However, it's toggleable. So if you're looking for trouble, you can flag yourself, but most people are only flagged for PvE, myself included. Note, though, that from what I can tell, open world PvP, there's not a lot of stakes. You can just get into some fun gunfights with people. If you die, you drop some of your cargo, but it's the same as if you were to die to PvE. You just sail back and pick it up. The person who killed you can't steal your stuff, if that makes sense. So some might say, well, then what's the point? Fair, but I get just for the fun of it. Although they recently added the first PvP dedicated mode to the game called Death Tides. I've only played once, and I'm going to look more into once I get towards Endgame and PvP specific builds. There's also certain events that occur in the world that will toggle you to PvP for that specific event. So for instance, there might be a legendary treasure map that appears, and 2 people can choose to fight over it, trying to be the first to grab the map and sail to the treasure's destination first. Though, admittedly, majority of the PvP events are vacant. I think some of them don't give enough incentives for players who have already done a lot to do them again, or as a newer player, you're almost guaranteed to be a lower level, so you're just at a disadvantage. In my 50 hours, I've played a fair amount of PvP events, and only a handful of them had anybody, and it would just be one person. Although, to be fair, like I mentioned, the first 30 hours, I didn't bother because I was so low level, I just get stomped. But now that I'm now on par with levels, I actively try to get into PvP with people. I think they're doing some stuff to better incentivize those missions, though, and I think that'll be fun. I'm sure these were all way more full towards the initial launch when everyone was on more equal ground progression-wise. I'm just here for some good pirate vibes. But speaking of pirate vibes, one, they're sea shanties. So, Yeah, of course I'm in. And 2 different pirate ships. I believe with the introduction of the game's first ever large-sized ship in Year 2 Season 2, the game has a total of 14 unique ships and are adding more as time goes. Most importantly, each ship has its own playstyle. The first thing that determines this is obviously their size. You have the extra small, there's actually only one, and it's the little dinky raft you get at the start, small, medium, and for the first time, large. Each one decides different factors such as health and defense of your ship, top speed, acceleration, turning capabilities, weapons, and the quantity of them. That's because the bigger the ship, the more gun ports. So while a small size ship might boast 1 bombardier, a medium could fit 2. A small would have 8 cannons per side, but the newly added frigate would have 13. Then you have the classes, which mimic the classic Holy Trinity: DPS, tank, and support. Each ship also has their own unique traits and resistances. I spent most of my time playing with the medium ship called the Sandbug. It's a DPS ship that's all about fire damage. Its unique perk makes it so that when you set an enemy ship ablaze, which is a burning damage over time effect that occurs once you stack enough fire damage, it immediately triggers a massive amount of damage, lets you deal increased damage to ships that are ablaze, and most importantly, spreads to nearby ships if they're close enough. It's stupidly fun to get a bunched up group of ships, set one on fire, and see the fiery domino effect. It never gets old. Each ship has its own strength, allowing people to pick the one they enjoy the most. It also changes what weapon, armor, and furniture you equip your ship with. Furniture offers passive effects that change things like crew stamina, brace strength, or capabilities of specific weapon archetypes. Since my Sandbug loves fire damage, I've got some Zams on the front that deal a portion of damage as fire bombardiers on the left, right, and back of the ship. Then for the top deck, the creme de la crop, the Infernal Maw Springloader that launches a buoy when once destroyed, ignites the surrounding area, automatically setting enemies ablaze. I've barely crafted and played with any of the other ships, so there's still so many strategies, builds, and build crafting to do. Weapons can also be ascended, giving them new affixes, up to a total of 3, and you can use resources to reroll them to hunt your god roll. And each ship can be upgraded up to a maximum of 7 times. This is important because of how the scaling works in the game. The base level of your ship, combined with the amount of upgrades it has, gives you a base level. Then the power of your weapons and furniture and armor are added to give you an overall level. Then that level is used to compare whatever your opponent's level is to determine how much damage you'll deal and take. The higher the level you are versus the enemy, the stronger and tankier you'll be. The lower the level, and it'll be the opposite. That's why resources are so important. You collect them as well as new blueprints to craft new weapons, ships, and ship upgrades to make your crew stronger and stronger, allowing you to take on bigger and bigger challenges. There's even some things in the game like the Empire system, where upon reaching a certain level of infamy, you'll begin recruiting manufactories throughout the world to passively produce goods for you. Periodically, you'll get notices of some missions to capture new forts, or to battle over existing ones, or even engage in a wave-based defense mode as the AI try to seize your base. There's also a huge skill tree attached to all this. Seems to be the real time sink for Endgame, min-maxing your production. So glazing aside, let me say a few things. Skull and Bones has a lot of systems and ideas, but some of them can feel half-baked. And if none of those progression systems or activities I mentioned sounds interesting to you, Skull and Bones isn't for you. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. And if you find after spending some time in the game that you don't enjoy the ship combat, this game is not for you. Although I will say it gets more in depth once you're able to craft some builds and different ships, certain strategies, more perks, all that stuff. And as for the story, well, I've skipped most of it. So I can't say whether it's good or bad. It didn't strike me as being extra noteworthy, but I played this game because I like shooting the ships, so I try to do as much of that as possible. And me skipping the story is more so the rule, not the exception, with most games I play.
That's an impressive feat.
I don't think this game is for everyone, but as it turns out, it's enough for me, and maybe you. God knows most of you never would have thought to try it. Heck, I'm surprised I did, but sometimes it's important to keep an open mind. Now, I specifically mention enjoying or not enjoying the ship combat as a key part of the game because, don't get it twisted, that's the game. That's Skull and Bones. My wife was looking over my shoulder the other night, and having seen me play this a lot recently, she remarked how she just doesn't get it. She asked me what exactly I do in the game because it just looks like I shoot other ships. And, yeah, I shoot other ships. All the time, and it's great. Everything you do is in service of finding and shooting other pirate ships. And if you want to know what the point is, that is to say, where you're getting with all of this in-game, well, you're just trying to get the coolest, most powerful ship you can with whatever build you'd like to play. Now that I've max leveled my Sandbug and technically cleared the hardest boss, you could say I quote-unquote beat the game if you're just looking to experience all the content once. But for me and others, The endgame is what you make of it, just like other live service games. Now I'm going to try and craft and level other ships, find other weapons to equip them with, to find new and different builds that I enjoy running. That also means fully ascending weapons, chasing the perfect rolls, and grinding season pass levels for new goodies. Since I'm just now hitting that point of the game, I admit I can't speak as an expert on it. I'm sure the people in the community who have grinded this game have their gripes, but I've specifically stayed away from any online discourse about the game because I just want to enjoy it myself while I can. I'll admit, I think I'll grind the endgame until I've had my fill and put it down, but honestly, keep a close eye on it. With every new season, I'll definitely hop back in to experience the new content and gear, hoping that I've found a cozy little time sink to occupy my mind with every now and then. It seems that with each new season, there's not a huge amount of new content, but as I've just played through everything for the first time, I haven't seen what that's like yet, and just know that all that's in there currently is plenty. I can confidently say I feel like I've got my money's worth. With that said, I don't pretend to see or think of this game as anything other than what it is. If you're looking for a genuine pirate simulator, or even a more grounded pirate ship combat game, this game is not for you. The combat is very arcadey, and there's just something about it that I really enjoy. Shooting different weapons depending on which side of the ship you're looking, aiming for different weak points to inflict extra damage, or come across some crazy foes like a ghost ship whose damage phase was completely unique the first time I came across it. I remember the biggest talking point surrounding the game at first was how you don't actually fight on the deck of a ship that you try to board, and are instead just greeted with a cutscene and an immediate success. The gripes were justified, but again, it's in place because that's not the game Skull and Bones is. It's a giant persistent world with a ton of enemies, and the focus is on sinking other ships. Pausing in the middle of a giant fight to fight aboard one ship just wouldn't work for the gameplay style the game has. So I'll reiterate, you're more likely to enjoy Skull and Bones if you play and look at it for what it is and nothing else. Is Skull and Bones actually a quadruple A game? No, not even close. Is Skull and Bones a perfect game? Far from it. Well, is it a perfect pirate game at least? Nope. Sea of Thieves still offers a better overall pirate experience. But is Skull and Bones fun? Yeah, I think so. And with what I've been seeing and reading from the developers, I'm hopeful that they continue to actively listen to community feedback, add new and fun content, and take the game to better places. Hopefully Ubisoft continues to give the developers the time, tools, and resources to continue updating and supporting the game. I'm now extra interested to see how they plan to implement this on-foot combat that we saw a snippet of, because now that I know what the game wants to be, I'm curious how they'll make it feel not out of place, funnily enough. So thanks for hearing me out. Maybe I changed your opinion and the public's. Maybe I didn't. But it's hard for a game to beat the initial court of public opinion. And, at least for me, Skull and Bones has beat the allegations.